Napheesa Collier continuing to blast Cathy Engelbert. The amount of money that Caitlin Clark has made this league is insane. She's getting 0% of it because we have no revenue share.
The WNBA, man, the drama never sleeps. Every time you think things are finally cooling off, another headline drop. And this one? It's a full-blown explosion. Minnesota Lynx star Napheesa Collier has just called out Commissioner Cathy Engelbert again. And this time, she's pulling Caitlin Clark right into the fire. We're talking about money, power, and a brewing scandal that's got the entire league whispering. Because if what Collier is saying is true, the WNBA might be walking straight into a PR nightmare.
Napheesa Collier continuing to blast Cathy Engelbert. She's not stopping. It's not over. Now she's name dropping Caitlin Clark again. And I'm starting to think this is becoming like for your own personal gain. You know what I mean? I'm very aware, like, the WNBA called the WNBPA out.
Collier didn't hold back. She went on record in Glamour magazine saying, and I quote, "The amount of money Caitlin Clark has made this league is insane. She's getting 0% of it because we have no revenue share. She gets less than $80,000 a year, and she's bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars." Let that sink in. Hundreds of millions. And she's seeing none of it. Now, here's where it gets even spicier, because this isn't just a random complaint. This is coming while the WNBA and its Players Association are days away from a major deadline in their negotiations. And instead of quiet meetings behind closed doors, Collier is out here dropping names, calling out leadership, and using Caitlin Clark, the league's biggest star, as her leverage. But is this really about fair pay and reform? Or is Napheesa Collier using Caitlin's name to build momentum for her own league, Unrivaled, a direct competitor to the WNBA? Because when you start name-dropping the golden face of the league in the middle of labor talks, it stops looking like activism and starts looking like strategy. And you already know her hoops is here to break it all down.
And saying you guys have been lying about negotiations and about offers. It's a lot going on, and I'm just questioning, is Napheesa Collier doing this for the betterment of the WNBA or for her own personal gain and Unrivaled? We're going to break this down.
This isn't just a fight over money. It's a power struggle for the future of women's basketball. So let's dive into the chaos. To really understand what's going down between Napheesa Collier and Cathy Engelbert, you've got to rewind a bit, because this isn't their first clash. Ever since Collier co-founded Unrivaled, her own women's basketball league meant to give players more control, it's been tension city between her and the WNBA office.
We had Minnesota Lynx superstar Napheesa Collier blasting Cathy Engelbert once again here in Glamour magazine. Napheesa Collier was quoted saying, "The amount of money that Caitlin Clark has made this league is insane. She's getting 0% of it because we have no revenue share. She gets less than $80,000 a year, and she's bringing in like hundreds of millions of dollars. It's insane."
And now, as the Players Union and the league fight over a new collective bargaining agreement, that tension has boiled over into open fire. The WNBA has been trying to finalize a new deal, one that supposedly improves pay, marketing, and resources. But behind the scenes, reports say the WNBPA, the Players Association, hasn't even looked at the league's latest offer. 4 days from the deadline, and no real movement. So when Napheesa Collier jumped out and blasted Cathy Engelbert publicly, right in the middle of those talks, it wasn't just a comment, it was a chess move.
When you name drop Caitlin Clark at your exit interview, it was to rally up the troops, to stir the pot and rally up Caitlin Clark fans to get behind you and support you. And a lot of it worked. Let's be clear here. A lot of the people in the media, from ESPN to Fox to everywhere, rallied behind Napheesa Collier, you and your comments. Good Morning America, everybody. That worked. But in my mind, I'm like, I just question, why didn't you bring that to Caitlin Clark first? Why did Caitlin Clark find out when the rest of us did?
And who did she use to make her point? Caitlin Clark. Now look, no one's denying Caitlin's impact. The rookie sensation has packed arenas, sold jerseys like crazy, and brought more eyeballs to the WNBA than anyone in decades. But the way Collier keeps inserting Caitlin's name into every conversation about player pay, it's starting to look less like solidarity and more like strategy. Because here's the truth. If you rally the Caitlin Clark fan base, you rally the media, you rally attention, you rally pressure, and suddenly, instead of Napheesa versus Cathy, it's the league is exploiting Caitlin Clark. That's how narratives get built. That's how power shifts.
Tore apart the officiating and all that. Had you not gotten hurt, because we watched Caitlin Clark get beat to hell for 2 years and none of y'all said nothing. None of y'all said nothing. So I'm just kind of questioning the moral behind it. And we know you have, bro, you can slice it, dice it any way you want. You have a competitor league. You have a competitor league, Napheesa.
But here's the wild part. Sources inside the league say Caitlin Clark herself had no idea her name was going to be used in Collier's comments. She found out the same way we all did, through the media. So the question now isn't just, is Collier right? It's, what's her motive? Because the WNBA says the Players Union is lying about negotiations, and Collier says Cathy Engelbert is manipulating players through corporate politics. It's a mess, and Caitlin Clark's right in the middle of it. All right, let's break this whole thing down piece by piece. At the center of this storm are three major forces. Napheesa Collier, representing the players' frustration and rebellion. Cathy Engelbert, the commissioner trying to protect the league's image and control. And Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom unknowingly being used as a bargaining chip. Now, Collier's main argument? That Caitlin Clark is the biggest moneymaker in the WNBA, yet she's earning less than $80,000 a year. Sounds shocking, right? But here's the catch. That's the base salary, not counting endorsement deals. Caitlin's already raking in millions from Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, and more. Still, Collier's point is clear. Why is there no revenue share? She claims the WNBA, led by Cathy Engelbert, is pocketing massive profits from the Caitlin Clark effect, while players get crumbs. And honestly, she's not wrong about the numbers.
Project B or whatever it is, Caitlin Clark, go get you $50 million a year from her. Go get you $100 million a year. Go get it. Because you deserve it. You bring it in. So there has to be a better deal in line, but the moral behind what Napheesa Collier is doing, I just questioning some, bro, because you're not trying to get a deal done. The deadline is less than what? The deadline 4 days away, you guys.
Let's look at the data. Attendance skyrocketed by over 100% in some arenas. WNBA merchandise sales hit record highs. TV ratings more than doubled since Clark entered the league, but the CBA structure hasn't changed. The league says there simply isn't enough long-term revenue stability to introduce a profit-sharing model yet. Players like Collier say that's just an excuse, that leadership's holding them back while the spotlight burns brightest. Then comes the twist. The WNBA publicly accused the WNBPA of misleading players about the negotiation offers, claiming the union refused to even review proposals that could raise salaries and bonuses. That accusation alone blew up on social media. Now the public's torn. Is Napheesa Collier a fearless truth-teller calling out a corrupt system, or is she using Caitlin Clark's popularity to strengthen her leverage and promote Unrivaled, her own league that would directly compete for sponsors, viewers, and players? Because when the same person blasting Cathy Engelbert is also building a rival league, you can't ignore the conflict of interest. And guess what? The WNBA's internal politics are just the tip of the iceberg. Now here's where things really start to heat up, because while Napheesa Collier is out here taking shots at Cathy Engelbert and name-dropping Caitlin Clark,
and they are not even looking at the WNBA's offers. The WNBA came out and blasted the WNBPA. Like, what are we talking about here? They're not trying to actually get a deal done. So are you using this to drive up the interest for Unrivaled? Why did Caitlin hear from you the same time we all did? I think that's a little bit shady, if you ask me. I really, really do.
Another scandal is quietly erupting right under the WNBA's nose, and it's got nothing to do with money. It's got everything to do with honesty. The NBA just confirmed it's officially reviewing all injury reporting policies across both leagues, NBA and WNBA, after growing concern about betting integrity and player transparency. And if that sounds familiar, it's because fans have been questioning the WNBA's mystery injuries for months. Remember all those vague updates about Caitlin Clark? Day to day, just sore, precautionary rest. But then we'd see her limping, taped up, or clearly battling something worse than what was being reported. And it wasn't just Caitlin. Players like Damiris Dantas and Chloe Bibby from the Fever reportedly had injuries that seemed far more severe than the team admitted. So when Shams Charania dropped that memo, saying the league is tightening its injury reporting to identify betting activity of concern, everyone immediately thought the same thing. The Indiana Fever are going to be one of the first teams under that microscope. Now think about this from Cathy Engelbert's point of view. She's trying to keep the WNBA's image clean, secure sponsors, and promote player safety. Meanwhile, you've got Collier and other stars publicly accusing the league of exploitation, and now the NBA stepping in to make sure nobody's fudging injury reports for financial or betting reasons. It's chaos, it's contradiction, and it's bad optics for a league that's finally growing in popularity thanks to Caitlin Clark's rise. Because you can't scream player empowerment on one side and then have fans questioning if you're being truthful about player health on the other. So now, the WNBA's facing a two-front war: Collier's moral crusade for player pay and an integrity crisis tied to injury transparency. And in the middle of both stories, Caitlin Clark, once again being used, quoted, and symbolized by people who can't seem to stop cashing in on her name. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark, because at this point, she's not just a player, she's the heartbeat of this entire storm. When you peel back all the headlines, all the union talk, and all the drama between Napheesa Collier and Cathy Engelbert, everything circles back to Caitlin's impact. She's not just a rookie, she's a walking economy. The numbers are wild. Since Clark entered the league, attendance has doubled in some cities. The WNBA app saw record downloads. ESPN viewership for Fever games shattered historical highs. And her jersey sales? They broke the site on release day. But here's the problem. The WNBA structure was never built to handle a player like her. It's still operating like the pre-Clark era, where sponsorship money trickled in slowly and TV deals barely covered travel costs. Now, overnight, Caitlin Clark's made the league mainstream, and suddenly everyone's arguing over who gets the credit and who gets the cash. For Cathy Engelbert, the goal is control. Keep the narrative clean. Keep the power centralized. For Napheesa Collier, the goal seems like revolution, a new model where players, not executives, control their worth. And somewhere in the middle, Caitlin Clark's name keeps getting thrown around like a chess piece. Think about it. She hasn't even spoken much on this whole issue. No dramatic statements, no public shots fired, just quiet professionalism. But somehow, she's the centerpiece of every debate, used by both sides to prove their point.
But I also think y'all should be real. And it's funny how everybody was on the, oh, it's not just Caitlin, it's Me Too thing. It's all of us. But when y'all trying to get paid, now y'all keep name dropping her. Now y'all keep name dropping her when it's time to try to get paid. When the fact of the matter is, she was the one driving the numbers in the first place. And we told y'all that. And y'all got mad. We've been telling y'all.
When Collier says Caitlin's making millions for this league and getting none of it, she's right in theory. But it also feels manipulative. Because if this were really about unity and progress, wouldn't you reach out to Caitlin first? Wouldn't you include her in the conversation instead of blindsiding her through the media? And that's what's rubbing people wrong. Caitlin's the reason for the growth, but she's also the reason everyone's fighting. The WNBA has never had this much attention, but if they don't handle this moment right, between injury scandals, pay disputes, and personal agendas, the same spotlight that made them could burn them. This isn't just another player versus commissioner argument. This moment could literally reshape the future of the WNBA. What Napheesa Collier, Cathy Engelbert, and Caitlin Clark represent are three competing visions for what women's basketball should be, and those visions are colliding in real time. Cathy Engelbert wants structure, sponsorships, media deals, expansion teams, all built around a unified league image. She's thinking long-term stability, corporate backing, and slow strategic growth. Napheesa Collier, on the other hand, represents the player empowerment era. She's tired of waiting, tired of excuses. She wants ownership, literally. Her Unrivaled league is built on the belief that players should control their content, their revenue, and their brand. And Caitlin Clark? She's the wild card. She doesn't need the WNBA. The WNBA needs her. Every network, every sponsor, every fan base knows it. She's single-handedly doing what the league's marketing team couldn't do in 20 years. So what happens when one player suddenly holds that much power? You get friction, you get agendas, you get exactly what we're seeing right now. Chaos disguised as reform. But here's the broader truth that nobody wants to admit. The WNBA has been asking for this level of attention for decades. And now that it's here, it's tearing them apart from the inside. When players like Collier use Caitlin's name to push for better pay, it sounds noble, but it also divides the locker room. When the commissioner defends the system, she sounds corporate and disconnected, but she's trying to keep the league alive. And when Caitlin stays silent, the media fills in the blanks, because everyone wants her voice, her opinion, her validation. This whole saga exposes the growing pains of a league that's finally in the spotlight, but not ready for the pressure that comes with it, because you can't call it sisterhood when every headline is a power play. You can't call it unity when your biggest star is being used as a pawn. And if this continues, if money, money, ego, and politics keep driving the conversation, then the WNBA's biggest opportunity might also become its biggest downfall. At this point, the lines are drawn and everyone's picking a side. But the truth? There are no clean sides in this story, because this isn't just Napheesa Collier versus Cathy Engelbert. It's the old WNBA versus the new reality of women's sports. We're living in a time where players have massive platforms, where fans demand transparency, and where one athlete like Caitlin Clark can move markets, crash websites, and double TV ratings overnight. And that power shift, it's making a lot of people uncomfortable. Cathy Engelbert is fighting to keep the league stable, but every time she preaches patience, players hear control. Napheesa Collier is fighting for players' rights, but every time she name drops Caitlin Clark, critics hear self-promotion. And Caitlin? She's just trying to play basketball while being turned into a political tool by both sides. That's the tragedy in all this. The biggest star in the sport, the woman who brought millions of new fans to the WNBA, is now being used as leverage in boardroom battles she never asked to be part of. And if the league doesn't figure this out soon, that spotlight she created might start to burn instead of shine. Because make no mistake, people are watching now. The NBA's watching with its investigation into injury reports. Sponsors are watching, wondering if the WNBA can stay united. And fans, the Caitlin Clark fans, the Angel Reese fans, the true WNBA lifers, they're watching to see if this league can finally grow up and handle success without imploding from the inside. So maybe this isn't just about money. Maybe it's about integrity. Maybe it's about whether women's basketball can handle fame the same way it's handled struggle, with unity, class, and truth. But right now, that unity looks fragile, the leadership looks cornered, and the players look divided. So here's the real question moving forward. Will this be remembered as the year the WNBA took control of its destiny, or the year it tore itself apart trying to decide who deserves the credit? Only time, and maybe Caitlin Clark herself, will tell. This is Her Hoops, where we don't just watch the WNBA, we break it down piece by piece. Make sure you hit that like button, drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe, because the drama in women's basketball, it's just getting started.